Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order the Tuesday, February 20th, 2024 meeting of the Community Services Commission. Welcome everybody that's joining us online. And could we get a roll call, please?
Chairperson Ronald Phillips.
Present.
Vice Chairperson Nicole Arciga. Not present. Commissioner Kimberly Barraza. Present. Commissioner Megan Scarborough Echo.
Present.
Commissioner Armin Ordian.
Present.
Thank you. Could I ask Commissioner Scarborough Echo to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Very good, thank you. Now I believe we have a presentation from Mr. Brian Montgomery, City Manager from the City of Indio, about Horth Dog Park, possibly. Horth Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we've got the aerial here. You're very familiar, I'm sure, with the location of the park between Avenue 48 and 49 along the canal there. It's not too far west of Monroe. It is a current park facility. We can go to the next slide. There isn't a, oh, is that me?
Yeah.
I'm the next, I can go to the next slide.
Yes, there was two.
There we go. So just zooming in on it, now you see the colorful drawing over the top of what exists, which is just native dirt right now. There is a little volleyball type thing going on in that general location, and you know, I'm sure some kids run around and so forth. But just to give it a little background, the City Council asked for us to find a site for a dog park on the south side of the community. So that was a request during the budget process last year. We had looked at a site that you may or may not be familiar with. The Jackie Cochran property is what we call it. I'm not sure how much background. That's along Monroe, not too far from this site, but a little closer to the Polo Grounds. And there's some complications there, in part with the cost to actually develop the dog park. It's a very large parcel that we own there, so to just carve off something for the dog park would be fairly expensive. Probably a good location, but not as neighborhood oriented, because you can think of a dog park in two ways, obviously. One is you walk your dog down the street, or it's kind of this neighborhood park. The other is you throw your dog or dogs into your vehicle, and then you drive, park, and then go to the dog park. So this probably is a potential location on the south side, meeting the expectations of what the City Council stated, an existing park with existing utilities on site, within or part of a neighborhood, yet very accessible still for others in the community that may want to drive. You'll see it conceptually rendered, not certainly anything in stone, but that parking there right along Avenue 48. So folks would come down, if this were the location that were selected, down that cul-de-sac and could park there. Short walk to what the dog park would be, which is that lighter green area. We do have some better renderings, but it was in like 3 pieces, so I thought this would just be best at this point. There is a small playground area, as I stated, some volleyball and a few other things that could either be relocated within the other dirt area, or the dog park could be modified. But I think the questions that the team would like to ask the commission is your thoughts of location, certainly, perhaps even the need for another dog park. One is being constructed as a part of, actually it's finished, just has not opened yet, of Miles Avenue Park now, and so it's on the south side, but maybe not as far south as the council indicated. So what are your feelings about another dog park and their viability and need in the community? How does this spot look to you as a location, whether it's exactly as rendered here or something similar? And then third, if this isn't quite it, where would be another spot that you'd like us to explore? This is probably the least expensive opportunity, but that doesn't mean there couldn't be other opportunities that we could look into. So with that, very brief, and sorry for the rough sketch, introduction. Mr. Chairman, any questions or comments and guidance that you can provide would be very helpful.
I'll open it up to my fellow commissioners. Any comments?
I think another dog part is great just because during season, I know on the north side it gets really busy. That's where I live. I think this is also a great location because it's not so far south. But I also think, like, I don't know where Shields, I know you covered Shields Park before. That's also a great area, just like I grew up in that area, lived there in the 90s. So I don't know, that would also be another nice area for it. Don't know if it's possible, like you were saying, cost-wise, but I do like this location.
It's a great idea to have another park, and the dogs are actually part of our lives, and there's a lot of benefits to have dogs and socializing there and health-wise, and you don't want to keep your dogs inside the house. You want able to take them outside and have a special park. There's a various of benefits, and especially when we don't have any place in the south side of India, that would be a great idea. As you mentioned, the cost is not expensive, so no matter how far we're going to be driving, so it's still within the India. So it's really a great idea to have, it's health, environmental benefits. There's a lot of good benefits to have, so it's a great idea.
I would agree with my fellow commissioners. I think this is a great location. It's a park that I oversee. I think it would be a really great addition, good location. I wouldn't want to lose the playground or any of the existing amenities that are at that park because they are used. But if that can be incorporated in to make sure that it's human-friendly and dog-friendly, I think it would be amazing. The only comment I have is bringing more people to this park is looking at the access to it and signage to easily direct people to get into the park, because that is not an easy task if you're not familiar with the area.
Great point. Two things. One, of course, and there is a dog there too, as part of the artwork. Ron's certainly aware of that. So 48 does carry a lot of traffic. So 48 would see that if there's some way to connect that dog sculpture with the fact, hey, there's a dog park back there. But remind me, Jim, as well, the trail along the canal, isn't that part of the overall CV Link plan?
Yes, yeah, when that comes about, yes.
So not only would they have to drive, but back to Armand's point, you're taking your dog out anyway. You could take the dog to meet his or her friends at the park and walk it at this location where Jackie Cochran, for example, that spot on Monroe would not be as friendly in that respect. I think the sensitivity, obviously, and remains to be seen, because there are some in the neighborhood, I'm sure, that would not be as excited because of that access issue. People would now be driving down that cul-de-sac that currently are not. This will enliven the space a little bit more than perhaps some of the neighbors would prefer. However, I would not be surprised if there are a handful of neighbors that would stand up if they were here and say, build this tomorrow so I can walk down the street and have a little more of an amenitized park. It is mostly dirt now, and I don't know if everyone realizes, certainly Ron has, if it's one of yours, that's all owned by the city. So there's a lot of space there. There is that volleyball court, right? So we'll need to slide that around if this was done.
Yeah, that's not a huge court, but it could even go into the grass, maybe even, in the greener area there.
Or even, because I believe that's the IWA that has that little carve-out that's on the immediate west, but there is still more dirt there to the north that could perhaps be developed for volleyball. The parking might be the one where the residents would be not as excited about, so hearing your support, one thing we could do certainly is talk to some of the neighborhood. It'd be less expensive not have to build the parking lot, but I do fear then you're going to have some parking on the public streets. So without the parking lot, people are going to be parking along in front of their houses, where we also want parking lots to be very visible. So on 48, officers and others would be able to look in on that and keep it clear. But again, if I were a resident of that area, I'd be supportive, but I'd probably still want the parking lot. But with number of spaces there might be, we'll call that 20 maybe, 25. Perhaps that's too big, but that might be the concern, is we're going to have people loitering in the parking lot or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to just say, Brian, too, I think those residents would like the parking lot so they're not in front of their homes, not on the cul-de-sac itself there, so it's someplace for them to actually park. and so have the parking lot there, I think they'd be okay with that.
The
And
parking
is
lot
it-
would be crucial to
Yeah.
that, to the implementation of this, yeah, because I really believe there'll be enough people using it that that's critical.
And to some degree also from the overall park system, knowing that, excuse me, of the trail location there, it can almost serve as a little bit of a trailhead too. So whether you had a dog or not, maybe we do want to create more areas in the community where you can park and then start walking. Because the trail system isn't connected to every subdivision of the community. The trailheads allow that to take place. In the past, have we had this neighborhood, concerns about North Park or anything that's been brought forward?
Not about the park, during the concerts.
No.
People park along there and just walk down Horth to get to the venue.
Yeah, it is very close to everything there. Well, I do appreciate the support. We have a number of capital projects we're working on, and so there are 5 or 6 to help take the load off the team that I've actually just taken on myself as well, and this is one I volunteered for, so pretty fun. I do think this would probably be half the cost of another location, and we already own it, and let's hope as we communicate with the neighborhood, they find it as an amenity. Like many things, and I'm just foreseeing that, let's say that we have 10 or 15 get back to us with their opinions. 3 or 4 of them will probably say, don't do this. And those are the tough decisions. You'd like unanimity, but that's not always possible. So unless it's overwhelming, if it is, we'll come back to you. But unless it's overwhelming, sometimes you have to grit your teeth and know that there are a few people upset, but for the whole, it's better. And I'm just guessing that's probably what will take place. Any
Now,
other
the only thing is that we always name it Horth, it'd be Horth Dog Park, but is Horth the right pronunciation? Because I hear Ben Catron saying Jorth. I hear people say Hajorth. So I'm just
I
trying to.
thought it was Jorth, but
I thought it was Horth.
okay, let's
With
go
the
with
J
that.
sound.
No, it's your part.
Growing up here, I always heard Hajorth.
Hajorth.
Yeah.
Well, it's a park I oversee, and I say Horth, so there we go.
That's it.
We'll find out. Shields isn't, I don't know the size of Shields or what's available there. One thing with the more modern dog park as you see it, in the olden days you used to just let the dogs run free. Now you typically separate large and small, and so the large dog area, as the way it's sketched and the more detailed, is that northern piece of the bright green. It's much longer, and then there's a smaller piece for the smaller dogs. You try to separate the dogs. Some of these other parks where we could go, there may not be that space. How big is Shields?
It's about probably half of that, half the whole thing.
Yeah, and some of it's developed, obviously, we've got that
Yeah.
artwork going in. And
Yeah. exactly.
Just one I may comment about concern about the neighborhood. What if we educate the neighborhood, the benefits of the dog? Maybe some commercials, some on TV or social media, something, because if I don't know anything about it, how I'm going to be supportive or not. So if I learn that there is many benefits to that, and environmental, health-wise, so I think that even give the idea to some residents having a dogs, and so I think it's education also important to look into that instead of trying to, so.
That's a good point. I'll bet there's studies out there maybe on both sides of the issue, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are studies online that we could find that indicate that a dog park near your home actually adds value to your home. And that could be part of that education process. My gut tells me that's the case. I think that probably is, yeah. Great. I apologize, I've got my next meeting to go run to, but thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Montgomery. Thank you. All right, we will open up the floor from the commissioners for commissioner comments. Anything that's not on the agenda? Scarborough Echo or Mr. Ordian?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you, Chairperson Phillips Martinez. I was not able to attend last month's meeting. However, I did watch on Facebook Live and know that there was some discussion about this commission's role or lack thereof. While I did not intend to further this discussion, a city-sponsored event that took place this past weekend further drove the point home for me that I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners that what is this commission here for? Chairperson Phillips Martinez, correct me if I'm wrong, but events are under the scope of our duties?
Not quite.
Not
It's
quite.
it's parks. I mean, parks is basically what we oversee in programming within the parks.
Okay.
I realize that we do have special events as part of our structure now, but it's not, I don't believe it's actually part of the charter.
Okay. The only reason I say that is just because there was a comment made about us attending events and supporting events. And this past weekend, we had a first inaugural Black History Month celebration. Prior to that event, I only saw it posted on the city's Instagram page once on February 2nd. I saw it posted on the Facebook page February 2nd and the 15th. And I also recall seeing it at the bottom of the monthly newsletter on February 1st. For inaugural event, I would think that there would be more advertising of this event, and that maybe, even though it's not necessarily part of our duties, but since we're supposed to attend, maybe there would have been some input on organizing for us. I typically don't speak about my background, but all of us on this commission were appointed because of specific abilities. I believe that. And I had the privilege of studying African American Studies during my time at UCLA, in which that department happens to be a top 10 program in the nation. I did research under the former chair of the department, the late Dr. Mark Sawyer, who is well respected within the community. So when the city wants to implement an event like Black History Month, but does not include one of their only Black commissioners, I find that to be self-serving and performative. I realize that possibly voicing my opinions on this matter may not have me very well liked going forward, but my integrity is worth more than my position on this commission. This is my second term as a Community Services Commissioner, and I would like to lead and grow more than I did in my previous term. Thank you, Chairperson. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Jim?
And I can comment on that too real quick. So we sponsored the event, but we didn't organize the event. So it wasn't our event, wasn't the city event at all. We got the special events application on February 16th was Friday. We got it on the 14th of February. So the organizers didn't even do a special event application until I said, hey, we need to know more information about this because we don't know anything. We know the date. I don't think we even knew the time on February 2nd or 1st. I didn't even have the time. So it was something that we helped put together right away. And again, it wasn't the city's event. They asked us to sponsor it. We sponsored it, but all the logistics and everything was put on by the committee that put that together. So if that's something that you want to get involved in, then you need to talk to that committee who put that on and try to make it, up to your standards maybe, or maybe even up to what you'd like it to see. Not just you, but anybody that looks at events and wants events. So if we get it early enough, then we could get input. And if it's our event, we could give more input to it. But again, like I said, we got it on Thursday. The event was Saturday, or Wednesday. The event was Saturday. So I had to organize closing the streets and things like that. But if it's an event like that you want to be a part of, then you'd have to do a little research on finding like who's the committee member, who's in charge, or call me and I'll tell you, and then you can get in contact with that person, because we didn't have anything to do with the acts, the vendors, the lineup. All we gave them was the location. That's all we did, and we gave them a little bit of money. That's all the city did. So it wasn't like I said, it wasn't a city-sponsored event. I mean, it was a city-sponsored event, but it wasn't our event. So I think some of your comments were are good, because that needs to be done, but it needs to be directed to the people who actually organized that event. Like I said, all we did was just give them the space. I closed the road, and they did everything else.
Just to further that, Jim, and I realize that it's probably not you, otherwise you would have mentioned it at our last meeting. I know you're good about mentioning events. I just think that the way it was presented by a specific council member, it was said that it was the City of Indio's thing, and maybe that needs to be clarified if that's not the case, because I think I wasn't the only one that felt that way about that event.
Yeah, that's a shame, because it might have been where the City of Indio is having this event, right? And people took that as like, what, it's the city running it, right? Which, again, we weren't. So, Yeah, our last meeting, we didn't even know it was happening. So I can't report on something I don't know, right? Or I would. Or, again, and this will be for my comments later, and I'll tell you that when I get to my comments.
I agree, and with my fellow commissioners, we need to find a way for the commission to find more of a purpose in helping plan events or being involved in the pre-planning process. I think we all feel the same way. The parks are great, but we've delegated so much of that responsibility to other entities that there isn't a lot for us to do other than like a new dog park, which doesn't come up very often. So if events is going to be within our purview, even though it's not part of the charter, we could see how we can assist in that area much better. Jim, what is the process for an event like that? Like you said, you had like 4 days, right?
Yeah.
Between, and the city sponsored it, or there was some money funded from the city for that event. How do we find out about that? Like, I don't know. I know there's a lot of wheels in the system here, but so that we could be aware and maybe let people in the city know, or we could use our Facebook presence to help promote those events, especially if we're using taxpayer dollars as support.
Sure, absolutely. So, and this was what I was going to say during my update, but I'll say it now too. So, I think I'm not going to give you updates on events anymore during my update. You can find all the events on our website. So it's something where where the commissioners, and this is what council does too, right? Is goes to our website or finds out about events, then comments on those events either prior to the event or after the event. They'll comment on that event. So. The public can look at our website too and show all of our events on our website. You guys can do the same thing. I think it's just me trying to reiterate events too is something that you guys can already do. And so, and the public can do that too. Everything's on our website. And when the protocol is 45 days in advance, we're supposed to get applications, right? Again, we didn't get this, but we pushed it forward because knew it was an important event, and they had said this is the date, and they had already talked to some vendors and some things like that before they even gave us a special event application. So we pushed that through. We don't like pushing things like that through, but again, when they go to a council member and go to our city manager and says, hey, we want to put this event on, it's not my choice on whether I say no, sorry, can't do it. It's got to be 45 days in advance. If their decisions are made that an event's going to go forward, I'll do my best to help that event logistically and anything else. Last week, it was pretty much all about this event. I met with the organizers there. I told them I need a special event application. They didn't get it to me till Wednesday. I met them like the Friday before. Get that special event application in, didn't get it till Wednesday. So even a lot of my crew, like my fire department, said we're not approving this event, because they had such short notice, and they're supposed to have fire marshals checking on vendors and things like that. But when we get put into a bind where it's a time-consuming thing, sometimes we push through it, sometimes we don't, and sometimes we'll get a response like that saying there's not enough time or people to staff that event. Then it's pretty much good luck, because there's only so much I can do, right, when I don't get it within 2 or 3 days of the event. But that's not a normal thing, but it did happen for this event for sure.
May I say something? I agree with you, Megan, and you're right, Jim. This is something we need to reach out, like you said. But in the same time, what if any organization trying to city to host the event, perhaps maybe we should guide them to, hey, we have resources here. I'm sure if Megan was part of it, it would be more beneficial because she lives in the city of Indio. She's more close to that. So what I'm suggesting, maybe any type of events that coming to the city that we need to sponsor, if we find there is a resources we can help them. Maybe we can suggest them, hey, why don't you reach out to Ron? Ron understands about the theater, so he can be really beneficial to you, or reach out to Megan. So I think it has to be two ways in a way. Because, your point is taken right, but at the same time, what if we do something from the city too? Just suggest them. We have resources here. Everybody's professional here. Everybody have something to offer, and we're ready to help. It's basically beneficial to the city, to the community. So I think it has to be two-way, around. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Nope.
Jim?
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? Good. Thank you. Okay, we will go to public comments for items that are not on the agenda. Number 5, do we have any?
No public comments.
Thank you. We'll move to approval of the minutes from the January 16th, 2024 meeting. If I could get a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you.
I second the motion.
And we will vote. All in,
Chairperson Phillips,
aye.
Commissioner Scarborough Echo,
Aye.
Commissioner Ordian.
Aye.
Motion carries to pass minutes.
Thank you. Department updates from the commission. Let's start with Mr. Ordian.
Thank you. Well, you mentioned today that it's been taking care of the parks, so everything looks good. Everything looks right, and also for the dog, I'm really excited that I took over the dog park because, like I said earlier, it's really beneficial for the community. So I haven't seen anything that I want to report it today, but everything seems to be fine at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Scarborough Elko?
The golf course always is probably the busiest thing in the city of Indio. I don't think there's any time I drive past it and the parking lot is not full, so that's a great thing, and I'm excited for the new clubhouse that's coming, and I think that'll generate even more revenue if that's possible.
I was going to say, I'm going to bring that, the clubhouse, next meeting to the commission.
Thank you, Jeff. That's great. And I think, I don't know what the city's plan is to roll out or have some kind of grand opening when the clubhouse opens. I'm sure there's something like that from you, all of you in the works. But I think the sooner we let the public know about the new facilities and get them anticipating it, it would be great, right? It's a lot. Everybody loves that. All right, for the Indio Performing Arts Center, they are merrily rolling along. They have one weekend left of Plaza Suite by Neil Simon. It's been very well received, sold out houses. This Sunday is sold out, but there are tickets available Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday evening at 7:30, so you can come down and see that show. Then we will be dark. And the following Friday, March 1st, I believe it is, we open up with Carole King, the musical, beautiful, which is a really great musical about her music and her life and kind of a documentary about that. Also, you will see some new changes on the main stage at Desert Theater Works. A new video wall is being installed for projections on the back of the theater, on the back of the stage, so something very exciting. We hope the community will enjoy that improvement. Registration is going to go live next week for the spring camp through DSUSD. It's the Spring Olympics, so you come and compete in theater games and activities, and we get ribbons every day, and it winds up at the end of the week with a big ceremony. So that's a lot of fun. You can find information on Desert Theater Works website at dtworks.org. And then we are getting requests already about the summer camp that is happening. That will be for 2 tracks, 2 weeks in June and July. So 2 separate sessions that you can attend. We accommodate 200 students per session, and that sign up will open up very soon. So reserve your space for that. I will remind everyone again, if you're in the DSUSD school district, TK through 8, other than one of the charter schools, you can attend at no charge to you. It's paid for through the district. And we do provide meals for the children throughout the day. It's a really great program, so I hope everyone will take advantage of that. Thank you. Park updates. We just discussed Horth. Dominguez, I have nothing to add to that, so I will close with my park updates.
My parks, Kauai is not very visited as much as Patton Park. Patton Park seems to be the happening spot just because of pickleball, and it's season. Tons of snowbirds playing pickleball. My normal little group of girls that actually play tennis in high school are like, they're glad that they can still change the park, but it's too much of a hassle for them a lot of the time. But they're looking forward to when there's less people on the court playing pickleball. But yeah, and I did not get a chance to visit Mulligan Dog Park just because I knew that it was assigned to me last month. So I will make sure to do that for next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Mr. Ordian, Commissioner Ordian had to take off, so we will forego his comments. Jim, we'll go to you for updates.
Sure. So as I said, my updates are going to be a little shorter as well. So the only update I have right now is that we're getting ready for the April festivals. As you know, the fair is going on right now until through Sunday. And besides that, we'll bring some of the stuff back for next meeting, like the golf course, clubhouse, and the Desert Recreation District. That's all I have.
I will add, too, that I'm also on the board of AMP, our music academy, which is down the street from the IPAC, Desert Theater Works. We were discussing doing something on Miles Avenue when the restaurants are open and doing an art walk to where you could go from the venue of IPAC, walk down the street, go past the restaurants, see AMP performing music, that kind of thing. So I would love the public to come down and comment or provide any feedback they have about possibly implementing something like that, probably when the living room is open and available too. But it could be, unless the city already has something on the schedule for that, it was something that was brought up that I think would be great for us to start planning. With that, we will adjourn this meeting with no further business on the table. Have a good evening, everyone.